Good morning, everyone. Today we have with us Dr. Lalit Khullar, director of the famous Tirpude group of institutions at Nagpur on our program Thoughts on Education by College Dunia. Warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Harsh.
So, coming to the first question, you have held key positions at education institutes throughout your professional career. What are the key factors that helped you keep in connect with the education sector?
Well, education, in my opinion, is not a profession. It is more like a calling. So, unless you are, fully involved in that process of educating people, you don't really survive long. So, I think people who survive long and who do well in education are driven by this calling that this profession demands. So, to me, it's not just a profession; it's more of a way of life.
This question can be changed to some other way as well, because you have worked in corporate sector for about 5 to 6 years. You have worked as an engineer. Also, you have been marketing manager at Exide. So after coming from the corporate to the education sector, what are the key differences would you like to point out that we usually say that the corporate sector is a fast-paced life, but when we come to the education sector, it is usually treated, it is known as a traditional way. So would you like to give some insight about the differences in the two? Also, what are the changes can be done in the education sector to make it more fast-paced and keep up to the technical innovations that we are facing in the industries?
Okay. So coming to what is the primary difference between the corporate sector and the education sector. One major difference that I have always noticed is that the corporate sector is very, very process driven. So, which means that they follow set processes. There are SOPs for almost everything that you do. Okay. So, the ultimate objective is not to rely on any one individual. All right. So, although corporate sector is people-centric and all that, but they prefer not to rely on the skill and knowledge of one individual. Rather, it is more like the knowledge and skill is encapsulated in the form of SOPs. Thus, anybody who walks into that position can do the same thing. That is the corporate sector. Whereas in education, I feel that it's very, very personal in nature. This is something in saying that it varies. The way you provide education varies from individual to individual, teacher to teacher. Each teacher has his or her own unique way of teaching, and most importantly, you in a corporate sector you bring value to the organization per se and to some product or whatever. Here we bring or we add value to a human being. So that's the biggest difference, in my opinion, that is there between the education and corporate sector. The second part of your question was, I believe, what should be done?
What should be done to keep the education institutes at par with the technical innovations that are currently in the industry?
One, obviously, the most obvious thing is to have a very strong industry connect, so that your people from teaching or academia don't just stay in their ivory towers. They are very aware of what is happening in the day-to-day world. The other is, I feel that educational institutions and education per se needs to become a little more nimble, fast. The reaction time should be faster than what is happening now. So, for instance, it's only now for the last couple of years that data sciences and analytics is coming in as part of syllabi of most of the engineering or MBA colleges, which should have been probably brought in 10 years back. 10, 15 years back. Digital marketing is also only now creeping into education sector.
Post-COVID.
Yeah, post-COVID or even during COVID, some people had started that. So, this fast-paced changes that are happening in the industry should be immediately adopted by the education sector. Somehow, I feel education sector waits for some things to become successful and then adopts it. So this adaptation process should start well beforehand, is what I feel.
Okay, that was very nicely answered, sir. So coming to the next question, being the director of the Tirpude group of institutions, how do you strategize about the new courses and what are your plans for the marketing for the institute? As you also pursued a PhD in marketing, so how do you plan about the marketing of the institutes per se?
Okay, I'll try and answer the second part of your question first, the marketing part. Frankly, we are not really into marketing, okay,
Yes.
per se, in the sense that we focus only on the first P of marketing, that is product.
Product.
Our product is or the services that we provide, and in turn, the student who comes out with more skills than he had come in with. Alright. So, teaching them life skills is far more important, in my opinion. And we feel that our students are our best brand ambassadors. No matter how good I say I am, the proof of life comes from the students themselves. So that's what we focus on. That is, our entire marketing effort is on making the students better. All right. Now the first part was
how to strategize about the key programs.
Strategize about different programs. Like I said, education needs to be fast and nimble-footed. We are now working on short-term programs. One thing we've realized over the period of time in the last 2-3 years is that kids are not very comfortable doing long-term courses. 2-year, 3-year, 5-year program is something which is not really
students that are thinking.
It's not very student-friendly now.
Yes.
So they want something which can be done in a certain number of hours instead of years or months. Okay. So we are trying to launch short-term certificate programs and diploma programs, which will have hours built into the structure, in the sense that a certificate program will be, let us say, 40 hours or 80 hours in multiples of 20. Or 20 hours will make one credit. Right. So that way we are trying to, we are working on that rather. We should be launching them by October, some of our programs, which will be done on the online platform to start with. And once the offline classes start, then face-to-face basis.
Sir, now that university has given grants for every institution to start their own digital programs, can we also see coming like new courses rather than just focus on the management courses? Can you also see from the commerce side the courses that are being started? At least since like it is difficult to start a program on a physical level in the institute, but now that we have a digital platform, do you think that you can hire teachers, or per se like teachers can pursue the different can explore the different parts of the commerce, and then the digital programs are also started for that?
Yes, that's what it's more like an extension of the previous answer, I would say. We are working on programs which will give them certain skills. Okay, so when you say commerce faculty, so there are certain skills like, for example, working on Tally. It's not merely use of Tally, let us say, but also understanding the accounting principles related to that. So maybe a short-term 40-hour program on use and application of Tally, and actually giving them which accounts to work with, so that they can become skilled on understanding how entries are posted and which entry goes where and what happens with the reports. Another area, like reports, I said, another area that we are going to start off in is analytics. Those short-term analytics using advanced Excel, how to apply Excel onto different types of reports, different types of data, and extract some meaningful information out of that. Then some presentation tools like Tableau and Power BI, we are working on that. We are trying to get faculty who will teach these things. So all these will have certain specific hours built into it. So these are the areas that we are focusing on. Commerce is not the only area. We are trying to link up commerce with all these connected areas.
So sir, one of the main parts of the analytics is the coding as well. So can we see in the coming future that you are also partnering with some of the engineering institutes so to provide the analytics using SQL and Python as well on the short-term courses?
Python is something we already have. We started building capability. Now the faculty has already started learning. In fact, he's on the verge of completing the program. Okay. So Python is something we are coming to. Okay. C programming and all, we'll have.
No, sir, not C programming as such, but MySQL and especially SQL and Python.
SQL and
Python.
SQL will not be an issue. Okay, Python already we have people. In fact, why only Python? We are also learning. One of my faculty members is also learning R.
Okay.
R is an advanced
course.
Software for data analytics. So we are also working on these areas.
That's great to hear, sir. So coming to the next question, education system in India and foreign countries are structured very differently. In your opinion, what can the student gain from studying at Tirpude group of institutions, and what are the knowledge he'll be able to apply in the foreign institutes if he goes for the higher education person?
Okay. The primary difference I feel between the Indian and the
Foreign
universities, mostly the Western ones, is how we learn. Right, the process of learning. It has been, the norm in India that we have focused on learning by rote to a large extent in school. But in the last 10-15 years, that has also been reduced, and kids have started doing conceptual learning. And we at Tirpude Group have started implementing conceptual learning in a slightly different manner by ensuring that students are able to apply whatever concepts they learn in the classroom in the form of exercises, simulations, and activities. So we are teaching them to learn from anything and everything. So it's not just that they have to pick up only from a book or they have to pick up only from the lecture that is happening. You've discussed some concept in the classroom. Maybe you can apply it at home. Maybe you can apply it when you're riding a bike or whatever, or maybe out with friends. So the concept that we are working on and which we are fairly successful with is that students are able to learn from different sources. That is what we are, and that is how I think India is better than others.
So coming to the next question, this is the question I think everyone meeting you in the last 1.5 years would ask: how has the COVID-19 affected the functioning of the institute, and how do you think it has impacted the mental health of the students as well as faculties?
Okay, how has it affected? Well, frankly speaking, unless I meet the students personally, I as an individual, I'm not very happy. My day doesn't go well, so I need to meet them. Yeah, so it has not been a very happy situation. Okay, we have tried to adapt. Almost everybody has tried to adapt. But let me accept here very openly that the learning quotient does go down, right? And students in general aren't learning as well as they would have in a face-to-face environment. Because in a face-to-face environment, your propensity to discuss with your peers is very high.
Very high.
And like I said, we focus on learning from different sources. So that part is missing, and I feel that has taken a big hit. The learning quotient has taken a big hit. So yeah, academically they would have got everything, but that's all they would have.
Personality development, which we expect the students being together, is there. So sir, you mentioned the learning quotient is going down. Can we see in the coming future that the grading system which are following, that is traditional grading system based on the exams, can we see that now that the exams, like coaching, like the teaching is online, the exams are also online, can we see that the focus can be shifted to at least 50-50 or 40-60 towards the research part as well? Research or the practical part as well? Research as, or per se, like for the management, we can have analytical skills, the project you are having from the first or second year itself. Can we see that coming?
Well, frankly speaking, to a large extent, that has already been incorporated now itself. Because teachers also don't have too many activities to be able to do with the kids, online. So a lot of the learning that we want to impart is through some research project that we give them, or we give them some data to work with and come back to us. So for instance, I'm teaching case studies, right? Which is very difficult without a discussion, right? So we give them a case, then we ask them to write down or make notes or whatever, and then share with us. And then during the classroom itself, all this happens. During the classroom, the online meet itself, these things happen. So adapting to all those things is happening. It's not that it's not happening. But like I said, the effectiveness is not 100%.
Okay. Coming to the next question, what do you think the institute's priority should be for the coming 5 years or 10 years down the line?
Okay, one is a constant priority, that is the student and their ability to learn. See, we feel that students need to have the right kind of attitude to learn, and our primary job is to shape that attitude. They may have had the attitude to learn before coming in, or they may not have had that, whatever be the reason. All right. Our job is to initially ensure that the students have the right attitude to learn. Hence, they can learn from anything and everything. So our focus is on that they should first learn how to learn. All right. So that is the primary priority. Moving forward for the next 5 years, 10 years, like the universities, like the entire academia, I would expect the students and the institute also to become very fast in reacting to the changes to the environment. You see, earlier 20 years used to be considered a generation gap. Then the difference came down to 10 years. Then it was till about a couple of years ago, I would say 5 years was a generation gap. Now I think it's 2 years difference has become a generation gap. Okay, so if the generation gap itself is reducing this way, which means the changes in the environment that are happening are very, very high. So if the university says my syllabus is going to be constant for 3 years, it's not going to work. So we may have to think of revising syllabi maybe midway through a program also. So that kind of flexibility is something which we will want to inbuild into our programs, so that at any given point of time, whatever changes that are happening in the environment should be necessarily incorporated in the education sector. So moving across, I feel that education should move from being reactionary to becoming proactive, anticipating changes and trying to ensure that the student is prepared to handle those changes in future.
Being not being an autonomous institute and being affiliated to the university, there are not many things that can be changed in the academic curriculum of the students. But what does the Tirpude institutions on their own part adds on to the extracurricular experiences of the students, so that their experience at the campus or the study in general is more related to the industry?
Okay. See, the standard method of inviting people from the industry and having them deliver talks, that has been going on since ages, that continues. Right? But apart from that, we try to ensure that our linkages with the industry are very high, so that anything in the form of even a small task that somebody wants to accomplish, some industrialist or some small office wants to accomplish, we try to ensure that the students are assigned to that, so that they get a real life experience.
Hands-on experience.
Yeah. So ensuring that our kids get a real life experience is something which is very important for us. Okay. So that is how we are trying to ensure that they come up to speed.
So in the coming next 2 or 3 months, as we see more advancement in the industry, can we see that there are more MOUs signed with more and more companies, not only the national companies, but per se the local companies as well, since they might be facing difficulties, and students, the MBA students specifically can get the hands-on experience of starting the small company and seeing them, helping them to grow to the national level person.
Yeah, like I said, when we talking about the industries or offices at the local level, it's mostly through an MOU that we start sending our students. Okay? So MOUs are signed left, right, and center. Our job as faculty members is to stay very closely connected to those organizations, so that in case if they have a scarcity of maybe 15 days, 10 days for anything, let's say their performance appraisals are going on, and they need somebody to collate the data. So I said, fine, I'll send 2 of my kids. At least they'll get to understand how data is collated. What is an appraisal? So at least 2 of my kids now have real-time experience of an appraisal. They may not have conducted one. They would have only seen a pre-designed format, fine. But at least they would have seen what happens with the pre-designed forms. So like this, any small task, anything, some financial year ending is there. So some kids are needed for even data feeding. I said, fine, let them go. Let them understand that how cash book is converted into a balance sheet ultimately. So that way we sign a lot of MOUs with local organizations.
Also, sir, if you send even five of the students from the batch of 100 to somewhere for getting hands-on experience, it will also impact the other students, because when they come back, students naturally talk to their friends and tell that what was their experience and what is the difference they are facing, like studying here in the theory and actually applying it in the field at some office.
See, here I need to mention one thing, that all students do not learn in the same manner. So in a batch of, let us say 100 kids, out of 100%, maybe about 30% will learn by doing it. Okay, so they will want to go out there and do something. Around 30-40% might prefer to learn by the traditional chalk and talk method. Okay, another 30-40% might want to do own research to learn. So depending upon who learns in which manner, we try to ensure that all methods of teaching are adopted so that all kinds of learners learn the way they want to. So if you learn in a doing way, you are not forced to attend a lecture only all the time, right? If you don't want to go out into the market and do something, you can learn in this way. So all options are open.
Okay, so coming to the last but not the least question, what are the advices you would like to give to a current aspiring youth?
Advice: have fun while learning. That's very important. Alright. I know everybody talks about discipline in a student's life, but I wouldn't say be too extra disciplined. Alright. Kids need to understand that their age of learning is also an age where they are allowed to be slightly irresponsible. They are allowed to commit mistakes. So do not be afraid to commit mistakes. Some people, they are so scared of committing a mistake, they don't do anything. So make your own mistakes, learn from those mistakes, never repeat the same mistake again.
That is, right? Keep learning from life.
Keep learning from each mistake, commit newer mistakes, alright? And in the entire process, you need to make it memorable for yourself by having fun. Your definition of fun also changes as you progress from one stage of life to the other stage. And that's how you need to ensure that, if you're having fun, you're learning. And if you're learning, you'll continue to have fun.
Also, sir, do you feel like the fun can also be in terms of the calling that you said in the first question itself? So I think it is a calling which we can feel by the vibes here, that you want to give something back to the society and change something in the society, that we can totally feel. So thank you, sir, for taking out time to do this interview, and at such a short notice. Thank you so much for joining with us on this program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Harsh.